Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's wonderful to be together, even as we are not together. We are here together and we create community as we do every Shabbat by bringing people into our midst, into our hugs and into our environment as we welcome each other and ultimately the angels of Shabbat to come and to separate this day from all the others in the week. It's a little bit harder now to separate this day from all of the others in the week. My kids are still wearing dinosaur t-shirts on Friday to make sure that we know that the dinosaur is coming to sing. And so many of you are making challah, although I haven't figured out where to get yeast. Tried and tried. And we're making this separation and acknowledging that we are together again for Shabbat at the end of this 6th week of our separation from each other. I'd like to invite Lindsay Bronegg, president of our Board of Trustees, to share some announcements and words of welcome from the entire board.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's very different to greet you from my kitchen instead of standing at the front of the sanctuary with 1, 2, or 3 children climbing on me. Welcome, thank you for being here. I have, let's see if I can show you these lovely halot that I just made from Ruth Auerbach's recipe. So thank you, Ruth. And the big announcement that I wanted to make is I wanted everyone to go ahead and put on their calendars May 30th, which from 7 to 8 p.m. we're going to have a virtual goodbye for our beloved Cantor Frommer. There will be a tribute book and an opportunity to just honor everything that Cantor Frommer has done for our congregation. It's certainly not what we pictured, but nothing really is right now. So we hope you will be able to join us, and you'll be getting a formal save the date with information about the tribute book next week. So please mark your calendars for May 30th.
Thank you so much. And where did you get the yeast? Seriously.
Well, seriously, I thought about it before all this stuff hit. When there were inklings, I went and bought a bunch of yeast because I thought, what if I can't buy bread in the store? As it turns out, it's just a good cooking project for my children, but that's
right.
where
For the next pandemic, I am prepared. I'm going to have a hairdresser living with me. I'm going to have preschool director living with me and a lot of yeast. Shabbat Shalom.
Well, as usual, we're going to go ahead and begin our service by lighting our candles. So if you have candles to light and you haven't yet lit them, please go ahead and do it now, and you can show us. I see numerous people showing their candles. So go ahead and get those lit. Give you just a moment. And once we have our candles lit, we can bring the light into our eyes. We can join together in the candle blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Beautiful. All right, and now we're going to continue with Shalom Aleichem, our song welcoming the angels to come and join us in our homes for this Shabbat and to bless us. So please join me in that if you can. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. מלכם לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי העליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, קדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי העליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי העליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We're going to now continue with Lecha Dodi on page 20 as we welcome the Sabbath bride into our midst. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'diburecha hishmiyanu, el hameyuchad Adonai echad, u'shemo echad l'shem multiferet, ve'litila lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Take it with Jonathan. Toreri kiva orech kumi ori uri shir daberi kvod Adonai alayich nigla. Shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzol hatoch emune aham segula boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Once on Laila Lai. We turn now to page 28 in our prayer books for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship as we begin the Mariv, the evening service. Yael Together. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. We turn now to page 34 as we prepare ourselves for the Shema by focusing on unity, on the oneness of and interconnectedness of everyone around us, even in a time of disconnectedness and separation. We recognize that through our hearts and through our minds, we can remain as connected as ever, and indeed we must to support ourselves at this time. Shema is on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
We continue now with Mi Chamocha, our song of freedom. And even as we recognize our own limitations on freedom and also the agency and the freedom we can still exercise within them, even at this time, I also want to call to our minds this evening those who are not free, those who are either in detention or in prisons or in other situations where they really don't have the freedom to move about as we do and to shelter in place as we are. And I call upon us all to remember our obligation to care for those people at this time. Freedom is both a privilege and a responsibility, and as long as we have it, we need to protect those who do not. So we keep all of those implications of freedom in mind as we sing Mi Chamocha.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Take it with Jonathan.
Now we turn to Hashkivenu, the prayer in which we recognize the incredible gift that is the shelter that each of us resides in and has over our heads. And in a similar vein, I encourage us to keep in mind this Shabbat, those who do not have shelter, those who are still in need of housing and of the sukkah of peace, of shalom that we have over us, and to remember our responsibility to care for them as well. Keep all these things in mind with Hashkivenu.
We'll be singing 3 lines from the top, the words Ufros Aleinu Ukat Shlomecha. Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shalomecha Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shalomecha Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shalomecha.
He's falling asleep.
We turn now to page 46,
Yes.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, where we ask God to give us the exact words that we need to pray at this time. Whether we struggle with those words as we're in unprecedented circumstances or whether they come easily to us, we know that the power of words and the power of prayer is dependent on us. And so we search for those words, for the right words at this time, as we sing Adonai Sefatai on page 46. Yala lai lai lai, 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 yala lai lai lai. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yala lai lai lai, 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 yala lai lai lai. Take it with Jonathan once. Continue on page 48. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Koneh Hakol וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We continue now praying the words of the prayer book or the words of our own heart for the rest of the Amidah. We'll listen to some contemplative music by Jonathan in the interim, and we'll come back together on page 62, the melody of Oseh Shalom that we started with from the Israeli group Hava Tefillah, in honor of Yom HaAtzmaut. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. It feels a little bit strange every Friday night to be talking at a green light. I know that you're all out there, and it's really important to me to know that there are human beings in little tiny squares on the screen. That the technology of all of it, as I say every week, is a little bit overwhelming for someone like me who likes to be together. But I will say on this Shabbat that as this time goes on, I think we all have learned so many things. One of the things that I've learned as I look towards summer and fall and long beyond, hopefully, is that I will now ask every wedding couple who comes to me how they may feel about being quarantined together. Who would have thought, when I asked all my questions in the past, how do you fight, how do you spend money, all that kind of stuff, that the most important one might be, how do you feel about being quarantined with this person? Didn't seem like it might have happened, but it's brought a whole new meaning to our relationships. It's the rabbi's role, figuring out what couples need to ask each other. Many of you over these last few weeks have sent emails or called to ask what's going on here. Last week, you had a chance to hear a little bit about where Cantor Frommer's been. And I thought I would share just a bit about what's been happening in the Graf household, lest you think I've been lounging around reading books, which sounds lovely, having my nails done. Having 2 toddlers at home has been entertaining and quite challenging, I must say. They're 3 and 5, so not ready to read yet. Doing a lot of art projects, and as you heard last week, even some crazy Easter egg hunts in the backyard. My spouse is a doctor at San Francisco General Hospital, and as I was reading this Torah portion, which I'll get to in just a minute, I was thinking about the Kohanim diagnosing people in this Torah portion with whatever mysterious disease usually gets mistranslated as leprosy. And I was thinking, wow, what did it feel like for those people to have to go out and diagnose things in the midst of a pandemic? Oh, wait, I know the answer to that. I'm proud of the work that all of our frontline people and our medical professionals do, and scared too for all of them and for all of them who come home to homes where there are other people or children or aging parents who are exposed. My pride mainly overwhelms all of those feelings of anxiety. And it's hard sometimes to be on phone conversations and trying to keep up with so many of you who have been wonderful to be in touch, as my 3 and 5-year-old have freeze dance parties using my bat mitzvah synthesizer in the other room. So I find myself generally, as I am now, locked behind 3 doors, which can almost keep the toddlers out. Not quite, but it's the best we can do under the circumstances. And then there's all kinds of creative stuff that's been happening that I wouldn't have imagined. Climbing trees, not so much me, but them. Building fairy villages outside, not so much me either, but I love them. And using toilet paper rolls as telescopes to look out into the universe. In a conversation I had with Ellen Newman just a few days ago, she said, we're all having a different experience of this. We're alone, but together. And it's very true. For some of us, the sadness or fear of loving someone with the virus or just of worrying about the world feels very overwhelming. For some, isolation and loneliness has become the main experience of these 6 weeks. For some, trying to figure out the logistics of getting food when they're not the primary, usually cook or person in charge of that, has been very difficult. And I understand some of you have even been using the internet as a cooking teacher. In some ways funny, and in some ways seriously trying to figure out how to make the best and healthiest meals given this situation. We've had, I think, our own kinds of meltdowns, each of us in our own way, or maybe not yet, but they're coming. It's hard to be with a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, but it's given life lessons too. Just the other day, we were trying to find a place to play, and we bumped into an old friend of mine, and Ari, our 5-year-old, decided to race him. He's a runner. To race him, and she fell on really hard surface with a lot of gravel. She stood up and brushed her knees off and said, I'm okay. And then she paused to evaluate. By the time she got to me, she was in tears from a truly scraped, bleeding knee. But her first thought was, I'm okay. Let me see what's going on in this situation. It was beautiful for me to see, to learn that from a young person. There have also been a lot of tantrums here, mainly not mine. Some have been. And a tantrum that Ari had the other day, screaming and carrying on, I finally sat down next to her and I said, this is really hard. And all of a sudden the tantrum stopped. We agreed. This is in fact really hard. Sometimes just giving acknowledgement or giving people the language makes a difference. It did here in her bedroom. And then I spent 2 hours just the other day playing veterinarian to all of her stuffies. Everybody seemed to have a broken leg or tail or horn this week. Someone said to me, this is a good time to work on healing everyone, to bring them into a safe place and to make them feel better. So I felt a little bit better about the 2 hours of wrapping gauze on stuffed animals in the hopes that it would in fact give us a sense of being able to do something. One day this week, trying to hold it all together, I went for a walk. And on a quiet bench, I sat down to read the Torah portion. Over 3,000 years or thereabouts, I would say this particular Torah portion, or this double Torah portion, Tazria Mitzorah, has been the most dreaded Torah portion for every 13-year-old Jew. With eyes rolling and trying to figure out how to make any meaning of this crazy Torah portion that describes, well, quarantine during a time of pandemic. No bar or bat mitzvah kid wants this particular Torah portion. Over the years, it's been used, well, it's been a source of eye rolling, let's say. Why do we keep these Torah portions in our cycle? People have asked. Over the years, we've tried to find even some more modern understandings of positive or negative aspects of human nature in times like this. Through the AIDS epidemic, especially in San Francisco, this Torah portion, this double portion, was used to talk about ways that we isolate people to the detriment of the community. Tazria Mitzorah is one of those double portions that gets linked up. And it talks about kind of an unknown disease that's usually mistranslated as leprosy. People look for modern relevance in this Torah portion and this mysterious illness that's described. It's come to be understood by our rabbis as a description of something not physical, but rather lashon hara, speaking evil of other people and the effects that this can have on community. But besides that, it's been hard to find relevance to Tazria Mitzorah. It's been a stretch for about 3,000 years until this week. Kind of like the canned pineapple I inherited when I got married that seemed to be some kind of crazy thing that was in John's possession I didn't understand the use of. Parshat Tazria Mitzorah seems to have suddenly become very, very useful. It's the story, as I said, of quarantine and isolation. And as I was sitting on the bench reading this Torah portion, I couldn't help but laugh at how incredibly relevant and current this often antiquated seeming Torah portion suddenly felt. I had never paid much attention to the word quarantine as it's used in this week's Torah portion, but the Hebrew is lehasgir, to quarantine or isolate. Interestingly, it also means to surrender or to give in. Samech, Gimel, Resh, it comes from the same root as sagur, meaning closed, or lisgor, to close the door. Closed, closed in, closed off. Closed, like the signs on all my favorite restaurants, closed. I started thinking about Yehuda Amichai's famous poem, Open, Closed, Open. I'll read you just a few lines. It starts, Patuach, Sagur, Patuach. Lifnei she'adam nolad, hakol patuach. Open, closed, open. Before we are born, or before a person is born, everything is open in the universe without us. For as long as we live, everything is closed within us. And when we die, everything is open again. Patuach, sagor, patuach. Zikol ha'adam. Open, closed, open. And the translator says that's all we are. But really, zikol ha'adam, that is what makes up a human being. Open, closed, open. So here we find ourselves, according to Yehuda Amichai, at the normal closed part of our lives, the alive part. Closed off, needing to learn to open. We learn some things. In preschool, we learn how to share art supplies and open ourselves to others at the art table. Later on, we learn how to share using more and more sophisticated words and concepts. And eventually, we learn how to share emotions and maybe even let people really in to our lives. But still, we only open ourselves a tiny bit. Social conventions and fine, thank you, how are you? Takes over. And we live mainly closed lives. In our isolation now, boredom and granular focus, life gets broken down to the real elements, like the key lime pie I mentioned in my letter that was emailed out earlier this morning, something we all know well, so many things we all know well that are divided up into their original elements, make them redefined in a way we never thought of them. As I mentioned, and I know the Rosenbergs are on this phone call, our congregational funeral that we had last week was really eye-opening as we were reminded of the true elements of a Jewish funeral, the burial, of the purpose of being there. We were stripped down to the basic purpose of ensuring a dignified burial for one of our own. On Shabbat, we gather to mark our week, and the trappings of Shabbat has been truly stripped down. We are here together to mark the end of the week, to mark time, and to come together as a community. But all of the other elements that make Shabbat more elegant and more complicated in real life are stripped down to the basics now. On Passover, I led a family Seder from here with no Haggadah. Guess I didn't plan well for a pandemic. With no Haggadah in the house, we just came right down to the basic elements, mentioning the elements on the Seder plate and the reasons behind the necessity of remembering each year and telling the story. So maybe as we read Parashat Tazria Metzora, this kind of unpleasant Torah portion about a mysterious illness which causes people to be sequestered, just maybe it's what we need now to hold a mirror up to our own unpleasant situation, surrounded by a mysterious illness which causes people lechaskir, to be quarantined, but also to surrender to the work, the crucial work of reopening ourselves, to the earth, and to each other. To quarantine and to surrender. An amazing coincidence, maybe not. Maybe the Hebrew language, as it always does, teaches us something very valuable as we look at the way the ancient words are used in the Torah and even in modern times. To quarantine and to surrender is to be closed and maybe to be preparing to open ourselves. I read in a blog on the Times of Israel this morning a beautiful drash about this week's Torah portion. The writer, Batya Ivry Friedman, ended her blog with these words. Our sages teach that the purpose of isolation is self-reflection and self-improvement. It's a period of quiet designed to review our behavior, take the time to introspect on our lives, and to seek ways to become better, less judgmental individuals. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. She said, the absence of community should lead to a yearning for community and a commitment to improving one's approach to building unity and tolerance for all. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be that this Torah portion that has so often felt irrelevant guides us forward in this unimaginable time that we are experiencing together, yet individually. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Yasher Koach. So we now have the opportunity, as we do whenever we come together, to think of those in our community to whom we wish healing of body, but also of mind and spirit. I'm sure many of us have more folks than we normally would in mind these days as we say Misha Berach. So I invite you during Misha Berach, during the pause that we will take between verses, to say the name quietly, still on mute, but in your own home, say the names of anyone that you're particularly thinking of this evening for healing, whether it be a healthcare worker, someone else working on the front lines of this situation, or a loved one who is particularly in need of healing thoughts. And I just want to add as well that this name that we consider tonight, Dan Jorenstadt, who also is in need of our wishes of healing. So please join me in Misha Berach.
Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Berach imotenu Mekor HaBracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Okay. At a time even as complicated as this one, there are so many things to be grateful for. And I'm sure we have many, many things to share. I want you all to hold something in your own heart, something beautiful from this week, even as things have been challenging. We have had many birthdays in the congregation, and I am reticent to name names because I know that I'm not aware of everybody's birthday, but I am aware of a lot of birthdays that have come around recently. And I don't know if you're on the call, but Stephen Lurie, happy birthday. Alan Schumann had a very big birthday this week. Marcia Greskin, happy slightly belated birthday. Today, Evan Kletter, happy birthday. And it is, in addition to celebrating all of those birthdays, I believe that we have Francis Bertetta on our call. Francis, are you able to, can you say anything? Can you hear me at all?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. And I'm so thrilled to have you because today,
I'm so glad.
Today,
what a
Francis,
birthday present.
Today, Francis, we all celebrate you. Francis turns 101 years old today. And last year we wrote happy birthday on a piece of matzah for you. And I look forward to doing it next year. But this year, Francis, our congregation by Zoom wants to sing happy birthday to you because not only are you one of the coolest ladies I've ever met, but you got on a Zoom Shabbat service. That's pretty awesome at 101. So in your honor and in honor of all the birthdays this week, we'll join with Cantor Frommer in singing a rousing rendition of Happy Birthday to Francis and everyone else who has a birthday this week.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely.
Happy
Birthday
birthday to
to
you.
you.
Birthday
Happy
to you.
birthday
Happy
to
birthday, dear
dear
Francis.
Francis.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
With math and melody, we make up for in
All
love.
right.
Happy birthday,
That was
Francis.
beautiful.
We look forward to celebrating you at Me'av Stream to 120 as soon as we can be back together again. So happy.
Oh, I'll be so happy when we can do that. We'll be so happy. But it's such a blessing that I can hear you, that I can come to the service. I just think it's wonderful.
We're thrilled to
And
have you.
I know Rabbi Abby, yes, Rabbi
Go ahead.
Abby and Donald put in a lot of effort, and they managed to get this thing hooked up so I could come.
I'm so
And that was
thrilled.
wonderful.
We're so thrilled
That
that
was
we were able
wonderful.
to get you here with us. So hopefully you'll be able to stay with us for these upcoming Shabbatot as well. So happy birthday, and let us all remember our great blessings even in this time. We thank you, God, for giving us life and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lahazman hazeh.
When we come together, it is our responsibility always to remember those who came before us, who brought us to this place, and who continue to uplift us and enliven us with their lessons and their values, that it is our responsibility to uphold. Earlier this week, we remembered the 6 million Jews and millions of other people as well who were killed in the Shoah, in the community Yom HaShoah Commemoration Day. It was filmed and is available to be seen if you missed it on Monday. But as we say these words of Kaddish, we remember the many generations who have come before us, who have enabled us to be here. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. We remember tonight Sydney Sher, a beloved Balafi family friend who died just a couple of days ago of the COVID-19 virus. For Shloshim, we remember in our community Lev Hefetz and Art Rosenberg. If you are observing Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days of mourning at home, please stand and say a name out loud. Our perpetual memorials on this Shabbat are Sidney Black, Charles Einbund, Mildred Molly Einbund, Ethel Goldberg, and Janet Lewis. If you are remembering a loved one in the first year of mourning, please stand in your home and say a name out loud. The yard site anniversaries on this Shabbat in our community are Zelda Auerbach, Louis Gansky, Leonard Jefferson IV, Joseph G. Cricksfeld, Marshall Redman, Nathan Ravel, Simon Reznikoff, Harold Romer, Martin Ross, Daniel Rosen, Jack Sladnick, Charlotte Tropp, David M. Weinberg, and David Zuckerman. If there are other loved ones you are remembering tonight, please stand and say a name out loud. We join together as one community of mourners, honoring God in the memory of all those in our hearts tonight. Page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam v'omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brichu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlam araba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Usei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel and to all mourners everywhere. And we say together, Amen. Just a few announcements. We have a few really interesting things coming up. First, I guess I will start with what's going on tomorrow, which I think you all know. 9:15 tomorrow morning, we have Torah study, I believe with Cantor Frommer. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes, great. Okay. And Havdalah tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. with Cantor Frommer. Wear your jammies or your fatigues, whatever.
Exactly.
And on Sunday morning, our studio group will be gathering. Rabbi Abby can tell us more about that.
Yep, schedule will be exactly the same as last week, 9:30 for preschool KN1, 10 o'clock for everybody for tefillah, 10:30 for the older kids, and at 10:30 I'm going to offer a little adult education session. So if you can join me for that, please do.
Awesome. Two other really, I think, wonderful things that are coming up, and I hope you can all join us. On Wednesday at 5 o'clock, Dr. Jonathan Graf, who happens to be Rebbitzin in our congregation, is also an immunologist and rheumatologist at UCSF. He's going to be talking a lot about the work that his lab is doing with antibody testing and hopefully something that will be useful and practical to all of us, but helping us to understand some of the topics that we keep hearing about in the news. He will be joined by Dr. Aaron Gordon and Dr. Megan Marmer, two pulmonologists who are members of our congregation, awesome doctors on the front lines of this pandemic, and who I think will do a wonderful job in helping us to understand what's going on a little bit better. I love being able to get our news a little bit closer to home and to really understand and mine the expertise of our local folks. So this is kind of experimental. We've asked for people to submit questions ahead of time. If you have them, please contact Peter Bonos if you do have any questions. Also, there will be an opportunity to ask questions from 5 to 6 during the program. Assuming we find this to be an interesting program, we have future ones already lined up, and we're really excited to be able to continue to look at what's happening on the front lines in San Francisco and in the medical world and beyond that as this program expands. So please join us, 5 o'clock on Wednesday. I know you don't have fabulous dinner reservations. Also, we are starting something called Secret Yenta. Which is maybe a little bit like Secret Santa, except it has nothing to do with Santa Claus and it's not in December. But the idea is that we want to link people up throughout the congregation to let people who know each other or maybe don't on a weekly basis send something fun, a funny joke, an email, a little video clip, hey, how are you? Or maybe just a check-in and say, is everything going okay? Do you need any groceries or anything? Just to keep building our network and our incredible community of people who have been so wonderful to reach out and support each other. So you'll be getting more information about Secret Yenta in your email box shortly. You can, of course, opt out, but please don't, because this is going to be fun and it's totally up to you. And I think it's going to be a really nice way to just make a new friend and reach out to people, because we can all use a little extra virtual hug here and there. Gordon Gladstone, do you have anything else to share with us? I do want to say, as Gordon's unmuting himself, I can't see him. Gordon's been amazing at helping people up to the age of 101 to figure out how to use technology in this time of Zoom and all these other things that we're using. If you are a person who needs some IT help, as I am, you don't have to be 101. Gordon has been terrific in helping people get Zoom and get other sort of apps on their phone and computer so that people can join us. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Gordon if you need help with that. It's something that we can help with, and it really allows many more people to be with us. So thank you, Gordon, for that, and people should know that. Gordon, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Wow, that was wildly oversold.
Not really. I mean, you got a 101-year-old lady on this call on her birthday. That's amazing.
Yeah, okay. Better miracles should come. I think that covers it. But we look forward to seeing everybody everywhere in these little squares.
Cool. And you got a cool haircut.
I had them all cut.
All right. Anybody else have any other announcements? Kiddush and Motzi, all those of you who have succeeded at finding either challah or yeast, in just a moment, you can hold it up. I hope to be among you by next Friday. Kiddush, Cantor Frommer, do you have a Kiddush cup where you're located?
I don't, unfortunately, but I have the words, which I will put up on the screen.
Okay, that's a good start. Those of you at home, if you have Kiddush cups, I know we have some, please raise them high as Cantor Frommer leads us in the blessing over the wine.
There we go. All right, hold on one sec. I don't know how well this bodes for Torah study tomorrow, but all right.
Oh, I see a bunch out there. There's lots of Kiddush cups.
There we go. All right, here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. כי הוא יום תפילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
L'chaim.
All right, can people show us their chalot for Amotzi? Show your chalot if you have them. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon. All right. We want to say thank you, of course, to Jonathan Dimmock for beautiful accompaniment, as always. And thank you to Peter Bonos for helping out with sound and programming and everything else that's going on. All right, we will conclude in honor of Yom HaAtzmaut, which is coming up this week, with Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. For those of us with little kids at home, we could all use a little more shalom in terms of peace, but for all of us who are separated from each other, we could use a little more shlemut, a little more wholeness and connectedness in this time. So we turn to page 353 for Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Take it with Jonathan once. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.